Hello friends, welcome to Ansarkari. I am your friend Vikas Bhardwaj and today we are taking up a new topic in continuation of history series in ancient India, that is what was happening in India between 5th to 8th century AD, especially in North India, that is post Gupta period, how it is evolving and developing. Efforts were made in this time period that a new large kingdom must emerge like the way Gupta's or Mauryan Empire was there in the past. But those efforts were not successful. Circumstances were not such because of rulers, because of trade and commerce, because of other conditions that a new big empire, centralized empire emerged over there. Definitely certain administrative practices which were there during Gupta period, they will be continued and they were not showing any indication that there will be a large centralized empire. It were in these conditions that a new king came into picture who was popular, I mean to say he became popular and he became powerful. That is Harsha, whom we call as Harshvardhan. It was in 606 AD that he came into picture and he was made king after death of his brother. The most important point here is that there is a place near Kurukshetra which is called Thaneshwar, or you can say Sthaneshwar, which came into picture, which was a prosperous town which was acting as a seat of empire in this time period. However, Harsha would later on move this power seat to Kannauj because he believed it was more central to it. If you see India's map, both Thaneshwar and Kannauj, you will be better able to appreciate it. Here is a look. Harsha was known for his administrative acumen and abilities also. We know a lot about Harsha because of his autobiography, or you can say biography, which was written by Ban Bhatt. Ban Bhatt went on to write Harshcharit. That is why we will call it biography and not autobiography. Though himself he was a writer and he went on to write couple of plays which became very famous. One of them was Ratnavali, one of the famous plays by Harshvardhan. So Harshvardhan is going to make efforts to expand the empire, and that is why he will be trying to conquer nearby areas. Somewhere he will be successful, somewhere he will not be. For example, on moving towards south on the bank of Narmada river, he will be defeated by Pulakeshin II. Chalukyan king will be defeating him. Pulakeshin II was a brilliant king and he went on to defeat Harsha. We find all this through inscriptions also. For example, Ahiole inscription is there which talks about the victory of Pulakeshin and defeat of Harsha. Otherwise, Harsh is said to be, Upasak, or you can say he is supposed to be devotee of Lord Shiva, Lord Sun, but he had a keen interest in Buddhism also. It is believed that in the later part of his life, he went on to become a Buddhist, especially you can say Mahayana Buddhism. He was promoting congregations also so that religious ideas and practices should be promoted. We all find couple of these ideas because of writings of Huyen Sang. Like Fahian, Huyen Sang came in this period. Huyen Sang went on to visit large number of places. He also stayed at Nalanda, which was having one of the toughest examinations for entrance. It was a great setup which was known for its academic and educational brilliance and excellence. So Huyen Sang writes that administration was fine, but then at times he will find that he was being robbed while traveling. Otherwise also he will find that there was a lot of discrimination and untouchability was practiced, especially with respect to those who were from lower classes. As I already referred to a term called Chandal, or you can say Malech, that was there. He found that people were encouraged to be vegetarianism, to follow vegetarianism, but then at times there was non-vegetarian food eating people were also around in society. He was also talking about that the maximum punishment was life imprisonment and capital punishment was not practiced. He also went on to write about that Indians were actually little hot tempered, they were quick to anger, but then they were quite honest. So his writings reflected What was India at that time? What was Harsha's period at that time? In terms of administration, one other point is to be seen is that as Harsha was not having a large army, he was not going to have a centralized empire, so he was dependent upon large number of kingdoms. Those kingdoms were having their own armies. They will be supporting whenever Harsha is asking for support, and in return Harsha is allowing them to continue rule in their own areas where they will be collecting revenue also. So this kind of system in which there is no centralization and there large number of feudal lords or large number of small kingdoms were emerging, those who are nominally and symbolically only acknowledging the real king as here in case of Harsha. This system is a kind of a feudal system. What is there is to be seen in context of feudalism. So feudalism was being practiced, as we can see, because the subordinate rulers or subordinate officers, they were not given salary in cash, they were allowed to extract revenue from the land, and major possibility in this context is that they will be exploiting people also, because that is how administration corrupts and collapses at times. So North India witnessed Harsha as a great ruler, because after Harsha's times large number of smaller kingdoms will emerge in North India, and there will be a kind of an administrative chaos in one sense. Trade and commerce will not be greatly prospering like the way it was happening in the past. There will be new and new smaller kingdoms emerging, which will be making a difference not only to North India but Central India also, and same things will be happening in South India. Everybody will try to capture the key position for as long time as possible. That is what we can say between 5th to 8th century what was happening in context of North India, how North India was looking forward to stability, but it was not possible. Feudalism was being practiced, and most important result and the consequence of feudalism would be new ideas, new technologies, new systems, new instruments. They will not be encouraged much, because feudalism as such promotes a kind of a subordination. It promotes a kind of a subjugation. It promotes a kind of a forced labor. That is why peasants and lower classes, they were mostly exploited by the lords. Otherwise, if you go into origin of this word feudalism, which we will be talking about separately somewhere, it comes from Europe, because originally feudalism in Indian context will be a little different classification. Looking forward to your understanding. I hope you are studying well, clearing your concepts, and also hoping you to do well in exams. Keep sharing, subscribing, and also giving your feedback. Thank you very much.